Ian Ritchie, thank you so much for joining us from Las Vegas. Not a bad place to be. And let's start here. You were formerly the #1 ranked fantasy football player in the world. So I have to know, what kind of perks comes with that title?
Um, that's a great question. Uh, I don't know, a little exposure, interviews from people like you, get invited to a lot of contests, and I get a lot of Sunday morning phone calls and emails asking for lineup help.
I bet you do. I thought
Yes,
maybe
I
a
do.
crown or, a throne, something like that. What does it take to become the #1 fantasy football player in the world? Is this a full-time job for you, or was it?
It really should be. It takes a lot of consistency through years and years of playing the national contests. And when you play the national contest for a long time and you consistently do well, that's pretty much the trick to it. I mean, we've been very fortunate to do real well in a lot of the national contests year after year. My partner Mark Deming and he and I have a system that we use that's always worked real well for us, and we pay little to no attention to anybody else's rankings, thoughts, or ideas, and we just do our own thing. And we create our own rankings before and in tiers actually before we look at anybody else's stuff, and we don't really utilize anybody else's material. I think that's
Yes.
very helpful.
Tell us a little about this secret sauce then. How do you come up with your own rankings? What's most important to you guys?
Consistency, right? So when I'm drafting players and picking players, I pick guys that I know are going to give me 15 points every week. I avoid guys that are inconsistent, the 0 or 30 that average 15. I'd rather have a guy that gets 15 points every week. In head-to-head leagues, if you can get consistent players and you have consistent players to fill in on your bye weeks, you win a lot of your head-to-head games.
All right, now Scout.com is different from a lot of other fantasy sites. We brought you on to talk about innovation. So how are you innovating the fantasy football space?
Our community is made up of the top-ranked players in the world, really the best players in the world that all play in the Fantasy Football World Championships. The other communities out there and other sites out there have games, contests. They have people that give advice, and Scout is really the only place where you can play against the best players in the world in the Fantasy Football World Championships and some of our other contests. And it really is the community with the best experts. We work with all of them to work on our projections, our rankings, write a lot of our content, and it really is a differentiator for Scout. There's a lot of experts out there, and there's a lot of noise in the industry, and we just stick to working with the best players and the highest ranked players in the world. We really focus on keeping it fun, and I think that that's helped us as we created the Mock Draft World Championship tool, which won an award for the most innovative product in the Fantasy Sports Trade Association. And we created that tool, one, for practice, so you have a great practice tool before your home drafts, but two, really for the masses.
Okay, so what's one way that you would help an average Joe, or maybe say an average Maggie, to get her fantasy football team to the highest level it can be?
I think draft help and draft tips. So, utilizing the mock draft simulator and the mock draft world championship, I think really is the best tool people can have. It helps you understand where you can draft players. If, there might be a player that Maggie that you like a lot and you draft him in the third round. And the reality is you might have been able to draft him in the fifth round.
All right, Ian, let's talk about your competition, because there's a lot out there, not just Yahoo and ESPN, but also FanDuel and DraftKings. Who do you believe is your biggest competitor?
That's a great question. We don't really look at FanDuel and DraftKings and others as competitors of ours, more of a complement, the daily sites. And to be honest, we don't really look at ESPN and Yahoo as competitors. We obviously are in the same space. We offer the Fantasy Football World Championships, and I think that's something that really you can't compete with. You can play in any league you want, any pay league you want, any free league you want on these other sites. But there's only one site that has the Fantasy Football World Championships where you actually have the ability to play against the best players in the world, and that's us. We pride ourselves in a community of the best players in the world.
The Fantasy Football World Championships. What's the payout for that?
$150,000 grand prize. A lot of league prizes along the way, but the winner wins 150K.
Not bad. Not bad work if you can get it. Ian Ritchie, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your expertise on fantasy football. We appreciate the time.
Thank you.